He said, I don't want to manage a dead team. And I think we've seen the reaction from that. Their match against Atalanta to put 3 past them in the first half showed that the players are behind him. Even Lukaku, who's a player that's not been fit to play, he was on the sideline and he was pushing the team on. There's been a character issue from this squad, so I think that's his way to test which are the players that are going to go to war with me and which are not.
Well, we've got a huge showdown between Roma, who sit first in the Serie A standings, and they're taking on Napoli, who are sitting third in the standings. But listen, if you look at the points between all of these teams in the top 10, it is very, very close, especially with Napoli just 2 points behind Roma, and AC Milan is right there between them also with 25 points, but they will be missing Christian Pulisic this weekend. So to talk about this big matchup between number 1 and number 3, let's bring in our guy, Marco Messina, who showed up for Footy Kit Friday with the Cosmos jersey, representing the tri-state area. I love it. Marco, how was your Thanksgiving? What'd you do?
It was amazing. I had so much to do. I went from the couch to the kitchen, back to the couch, and then back to the kitchen. Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. I heard the Brits on set maybe didn't enjoy it as much as I do, but it's focus on family. It's focus on food. There's no stress of the gifts or anything like that. So it's my favorite holiday every year.
Oh, I love hearing that. So I think what's going to happen is you're going to need to invite Troy over for Thanksgiving next year so we can switch his whole experience around.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to, if we could just explain to me what it is and not show me Macy's where we keep showing all these adverts of things we can buy, but then every shop's shut. It doesn't make no sense. But
you've understood America very well right there.
That is very true. But listen, I'm glad everyone got to enjoy it with their families. Obviously, we don't have our families at all here yet, but eventually we will. So hopefully next year I might be able to host for you guys. How about that?
Go.
Okay.
All right. Well,
don't hold me to it, though.
No. You can see the
player. Also, I can just see this. My mind's gone forward. Next year, we're all at Troy's. His lovely wife will be doing all the cooking. Yeah. He'll be sat on the sofa watching the NFL.
It sounds about right, I'll be honest.
It's a Macy's Day Parade, not NFL.
There you go. All right, so Marco, let's talk about this big Roma-Napoli matchup. Roma right now is sitting at the top of the Serie A table. They have a very great defense that we've been able to see from them. Is Roma being at the top something that's surprising to you? Is it surprising the type of side that we've been able to see from them so far this year?
100%. And maybe we shouldn't be surprised, because if you look at the 2025 table, Roma have been the best team in Serie A. They would have 10 more points if we just counted the annual year over Napoli, who are the reigning champions. So Ranieri came in, he made this team defensively solid, and Gasperini has built on top of that. Very few people would have Roma at this point. You see the 6 goals allowed. That's the number that stands out to me the most. It's the best defense alongside with Arsenal in all of Europe. So the fact that they've been able to stay so solid defensively is incredible. And usually the team that defends the best can go on and win the title. And the interesting thing about all of this is you might say, oh, for Roma, things have been amazing. Things have gone perfect. It's actually not true. They've dealt with so many injuries. Paulo Dybala, their best player within the roster, has gone out injured. Bailey, who they brought in, got hurt in his first ever training session. The good news is both of those guys are coming back into the lineup. Kone and Elayunu got injured in yesterday's game. We have to see if they're going to be back, but they have been phenomenal. They are machines, and they have 13 different goal scorers, so they're not just reliant on one player.
Marco, it's been, I think, 24 years since Roma last lifted and won the Scudetto. Is this the year that Piero Gasperini finally gets his hand on the title?
Oh, it's the big question. It's the first time that they're in first place at this point in the season in 10 years. So it is one of the best records ever. I still think that they struggle, especially in the goal scoring department, because if you think about, they brought in Evan Ferguson. He finally got his first goal just in the last week. Dovbyk is another striker who's not scoring enough goals. He was the La Liga top goal scorer just 2 seasons ago, but he hasn't hit the ground running. So how long can they go if they don't have a center forward who's scoring them goals? That's my big concern. If they could get to January and maybe add another potential piece to the puzzle, then it gets really interesting. And I think Roma also have to look that there's nobody in Italy who's running away with the title. Inter has their problems. Milan have slipped up against the smaller teams. Napoli, there's been some question marks over their motivation. So Roma have everything to believe, but I want to see them in the big games. So far, they had 2 big matches, Milan and Inter. They lost 1-0 in both of them. So this weekend is a chance for them to show that they could also beat the big dogs.
Marco, you spoke about the strikers. It feels like a running theme throughout the whole of Serie A. How do the Italian teams get more production from their strikers? Because obviously we know Italians are based off of solid defensive foundations, but it feels like in the modern game now you need your strikers scoring, and you look across the board and there's no one really doing that. Obviously we take Lukaku out of this because if Lukaku was in, we all feel that he would be scoring a lot of goals.
100%. It's been the biggest problem in Italy. I think there's a balance. There's a deeper problem, which is not being able to spend money on top strikers, and top strikers go for more than that 30 to 40 million range, which is where most of Italian teams. No. He's had like 1 or 2 good games for Napoli, but he can't even hold up a simple ball. I mean, it's so he's good if he got to run in behind and he can use his speed. Don't get me started on Hoyland. It's a sore subject for me. So it absolutely is true, and I think Italy is the hardest league for a striker to score in. Again, I gave you the example of Dovbyk. He was top goal scorer in La Liga with Girona. He has not been able to translate what he did in La Liga to here because we focus on defending first. We want to make it as difficult as possible. Maybe the January transfer market could unlock that, and then we'll start to see, some teams look for goals. But it absolutely is a theme, and I think the good thing is, I mentioned it before, it's had to make everybody else step up. Mattia Sule, for example, is a player that Roma invested in over a year ago. He was seen as the Dybala replacement. He's the top goal scorer in the side. He scored so many goals from outside of the box, the most of any player in Europe. So it's really been everyone else has had to get involved because none of the strikers are scoring goals.
Scott McTominay, Serie A Player of the Season last season. Is it possible to say, and also what he's doing at international level, he's flying even higher than he was?
So he struggled at the beginning of the season, and all of the newspapers and even us, we said, oh, is KDB coming into this Napoli side? Is it limiting McTominay? Because McTominay was playing as a left midfielder, essentially. And then, again, in these last matches, I've been watching Napoli, and I say, oh, guys, for sure Scott is going to be the guy that makes it 1-0. Otherwise, Napoli's going to struggle. So he has been their most important player in the most crucial times so far this season.
Marco, I want to hit on Antonio Conte because it was only 2 weeks ago that the soap opera took a different turn with him in Napoli, where it looked like he was going to potentially be out of Napoli. But since the international break, I think it's 2 wins on the bounce. I mean, where are things now with Conte? Have things settled down a bit?
So I think with Antonio Conte, you always have to take things with a grain of salt. We filmed a nice segment with Troy and Nigel and Grella just to get a player's perspective of this. And the caveat is, I think he tries to use the media to get a reaction out of his players a lot. We saw that last year after the first match where they lost 3-0 to Verona. I think this was another one of those, to quote what he said after their terrible loss against Bologna before the international break. He said, I don't want to manage a dead team. And I think we've seen the reaction from that. Their match against Atalanta, to put 3 past them in the first half, showed that the players are behind him. Even Lukaku, who's a player that's not been fit to play, he was on the sideline and he was pushing the team on. There's been a character issue from this squad, so I think that's his way to test which are the players that are going to go to war with me and which are not. He's also adapted. He switched to a 3-4-3 formation. One of Napoli's most important qualities last season was their ability to not concede goals. That has not been the case this season. So what did he do? He's gone with the back 3 now, including Bucama, who's brought in from Bologna, who hadn't been into the mix. For me, it gives them organization. They've been more compact. But the other thing that it does is it allows them to have Neres and Lang on the wings, to give them that speed, to give them that unpredictability. Since their center forward is not scoring goals, you need the wingers to do so. So he's tinkered around with so many different formations. He's going to stick with this 3-4-3. And I think that really is the solution, because it fixes the 2 biggest problems that this team has: their unpredictability and their ability to concede too many goals so far this season.
Marco, I'm putting you on the spot for this last one. I'm so sorry, but I have to do it. Give me your prediction for this game. You've spoken very positively, I'll say, about both sides. So which way are you leaning in this one?
Yeah, I was talking to my dad yesterday for Thanksgiving, and we were disagreeing like crazy on this one. It's so up in the balance. It's almost impossible to predict. I'm going to go with what I've seen so far this season. Roma in the big matches, I think they're going to lack a little bit. I'm going to favor Napoli to win this one.
Ooh. You guys agree with that?
Ooh. Stinks of a draw.
Yeah, probably.
Stinks of
I didn't want to say that.
It's Serie A. It's always 0-0, isn't it, Marco?
Hey, we had the same amount of goals as the Premier League last week, by the way. You guys don't want to talk about that. Huh?
Marco, we appreciate it. Thank you so much,
later,
guys. Roma taking on Napoli this Sunday, 2:45 p.m. Eastern, with coverage starting at 2 p.m. Eastern on Paramount+.